I'll let you know when we're live because I'll give a countdown. And we're live, so I'm going to count down. This is for the audio part of the show. 3, 2, 1. And welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Dan Holroyd of the Southern Michigan Paranormals, right here in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Southwest Michigan to be exact. And you are here on the Unrestricted Paranormal Show. This is one of our new podcasts that we offer here on the network. If you're not watching or listening on the network, do yourself a favor. Please go tell your friends. Go to www.unrestrictedparanormal.com. Now, when you spell unrestricted, folks, make sure that when you get to the unrest part, you go RXTD, okay? Because I spelled it slightly different. Unrestrictedparanormal.com. It's all one word. I'd like to thank our sponsors before we get started. As always, Henderson Castle, hendersoncastle.com. I'm going to try not to be tongue twisted tonight, folks, so hang in there with me. Go to hendersoncastle.com, and you too can book a getaway at an 1895's bed and breakfast built by Frank and Mary Henderson here in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Also, Gun Barrel Coffee. You've had the rest, drink the best. Gun Barrel Coffee. They won't let you down, I promise. They're out of Batavia, Illinois. Look them up at gunbarrelcoffee.com. This is run by veterans. The coffee is roasted by veterans. Proceeds go to help veterans, and you know I'm all about that. We've got a guest with us tonight. We've got a gentleman by the name of Tommy amongst the Tombstones. Now, I met another fellow by the name of Drew McRae, who does living history and is also part of the Midwest Parahistorical Society, which I've now been brought into, and did an investigation with them, I believe maybe a week ago. I think it's a week ago now, maybe a week and a half. And I met this young man, and I had seen him a few times on YouTube. Not to be rude to him, but I kind of watched here and there, but I didn't like delve into it. Now I've delved into his product, and I love what he's doing. You know, he's creating a niche for himself, and so we've got him with us tonight. Everybody, welcome Tommy Tombstone to the program.
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for being here. I know we kind of ramshackled and did this last minute. And that's okay. And I know we invited Drew, but Drew's doing his thing. So if he comes in, he comes in at some point. If not, we'll be sure to get him on as well. If not all three of us, or all four of us, or all five of us that were there at some point in time on a later show. I've been doing paranormal for quite a few years, folks. Southern Michigan Paranormals have been around for a good 15 years now. And before that, we were the Paranormals. Which I started with a person that I've known for a few years, well, quite a long time. He's no longer, involved and whatnot, but we were anything but normal, so that's why we called ourselves the Paranormals, because we were not a Paranormals, and it just kind of went from there. But just to give you a little background, folks, that's where I'm at. So coming into an investigation, meeting Tommy and Drew and Mark and Joe, right?
Yeah, Joe.
Joe, your cameraman.
Yep.
Meeting everybody was really great. These guys have been at it for a little less time than me, but that didn't matter. They're still doing good things. They had great content. But let me just get to you. You're the guest on the show. Nobody wants to hear me talking about me. When did you become interested in the paranormal? Because you're a younger guy. I mean, I'm getting ready to hit 59 here in January. What are you pushing? About 23?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm 26.
Oh yeah, you're so old. So, what got you interested in this? Because I think you were saying that you weren't initially doing the paranormal stuff. You were doing other things.
Yeah, no, I had actually no intentions of ever doing this kind of stuff. Like I said, I've been doing videos since like 2009. I have an old YouTube channel.
Right.
I started out making like goofy Bigfoot videos. I was always obsessed with Bigfoot, which we talked about. So that's kind of funny. So I did those for years growing up. And then eventually I got into short films, doing like horror short films, horror movies and stuff. And that's my passion. So I did those for a while. And then it wasn't until around when COVID first hit, everyone else was dead at that point because you had to stay inside and stuff. So I was like, well, what can I do on my YouTube channel besides short films, in which I couldn't get everyone together to do those? So I was like, what can I do? So I've always been interested in the paranormal. I used to watch all the, paranormal activity and stuff like it when I was younger, and some of the ghost hunting shows. So I've always been interested in it, but I never thought of actually doing it, right? So eventually it came to the point where I was like, okay, I'm interested in this. Let's go check out some weird, creepy cemeteries. So I started doing those, which happened to be Munchkin Land, if you're aware of that location, which I think
Oh
you
yeah.
are.
Oh yeah.
So I started off going there a couple times and got some weird stuff. And from then on there, from then on out, I was like, okay, this is definitely interesting. I think I can make some cool videos about this. So I did about 3 or 4 last year in 2020. And then it kind of died out, and then I did a couple more short films. Well, it wasn't until like the beginning of this summer of 2021, I started doing these, and I got more into it. And then the more I did it, more stuff started happening. So I was like, okay, this stuff is not, it's no BS. This stuff is legit, as real as it gets. And then I met Drew, which hopefully comes on here. I don't know. And then it just from there it just only went up, honestly. So I've loved doing it. Like, I have so much passion for this at this point, and I've only been doing it for basically not even a year, really, because I started it last year, but I did like 3 videos, and it wasn't until this summer when I started really getting into it. So
Well, you're doing the basics, and being the guest there and the visitor there, I didn't want to overstep bounds when I first met you guys. I came home and told my wife, all about, the investigation and all these people I met. And I told her, I said, I'm impressed with one thing and one thing mainly. And it's not that you have to have my, my approval, by no means, but I still look at that when I get involved with other people doing this. Because again, doing it as long as I have with my group, I'm still learning too. I don't know it all, but I really put a lot of science mixed in with metaphysical, mixed in with, the spiritual. I mix in quite a few different things. Scientific method is always the number one thing that I operate on, with my group, running my group, or investigating. And you guys, we're hitting some of the points in there. So I just want to let you know, as I told you that night, again, not knowing me, I'm very impressed. I'm impressed that you guys are doing a lot of things right. As I said, I look forward to working with you guys some more. You too, maybe even you and I doing some things, which is going to segue into my next question. So, you weren't really looking to get into this. Now, it doesn't look to me that you have an innate fear, of any of this. Maybe being cautious and not sure what to expect is what I saw in your face. In some of your earlier videos. And that's how a lot of us start out. If you can handle that fear factor of the flight or fight type of deal, and that's why you're there, and you need to maintain what you're doing and try to be somewhat calm in your assessment and gathering your clues, your evidence. Was that on your mind when you started, that you're like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for this, or if I see something?
yeah, like when I first started, I was, I got anxiety a little bit doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you would go to these different places, and you never know what you're going to see or
Right.
expect, really. So at first, and then I don't think it was as much as going to locations. It was after you did it, and when you went home to go to sleep, I think that's when it bothered me the most, because I was kind of paranoid. But it's like, over time doing this whole summer, it got better and better, and it's getting to the point where I still get spooked out and stuff, but it doesn't bother me as much as when I first started, honestly.
Well,
So
your concern is real. Your concern is real, as you heard me say out loud, when we were there that night, that no one had any permission to follow any of us home. That's something I got in the habit of a few years after, like you, I was into it, and I didn't know. And I realized I came home with a little paranoia, being sensitive that I am. Anyway, things followed me home. And there was nothing terrible, I could write a book about or a horror movie about, but just some odd stuff, and dreams and some other things have happened to me since, and still do. But again, see, you're mindful of it, which tells me that, your intent is in a good place. You're trying to find out, you want to discover, you have that, I can see it in you. You have that energy, man. You are just hyped up when something happens and you feel you've got something. And I love that, because still feeling you out when I first met you, I mean this, Tommy, that, you have the right intent. For me, with anybody that's doing this work, I look at that too. Being the new guy in with you guys, you already had your thing going, and again, I didn't want to say anything. I know I talked a lot. That's because I had probably about 26,000 cups of coffee before I got to Drew's and before we got out there. But I'm always overeager to share too. So where I'm going with this, as I said, I could tell the intent that you guys had was good. You're ghost chasing a little bit, but that's okay because you guys are still looking to find answers to good questions. You're not out there doing silly things and saying, well, let's see if we can get something negative to happen, like some of the shows do. And I think some of the people who are out here operating too, and I speak very out about it and very verbally about this. There's a lot of people doing what you're doing. There's a lot of people doing what I do. Sometimes I'm not always convinced that they're kind of doing it for the right reasons. And I don't besmirch anybody creating content or doing what they do. I don't. But where's your intent? Does that make sense to you, Tom? Where's your intent, man? Are you going in there like, listen, I ain't here to judge you, I ain't here to move nobody on, none of this silly stuff, or to make life worse for you on the other side. Just want to communicate and find out your story and share it.
So you want to know what my intent is of like when I do these
Yeah,
and stuff?
yeah. I mean, I felt that your intent was good.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, like when I first started doing this stuff, it was started off with like, okay, I want to see if this stuff's legit. Let's see if I can get any responses or
Right.
see anything, hear anything. And then the more I invested in more gear and stuff like that, it's like I really want to know the history behind the place. I like that's why I love doing the stuff with Drew, because they do all the research and the history. Mark and stuff. Mark's great. And it's like going into these places, it's like I want to know the background. I want to know like what happened here, who was all involved, who died here, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like it's cool when you know that background information and you bring it to the investigation, and then you're like, okay, so I know this person was involved. Let's ask this person if like some questions and stuff. And I feel like my intent is to figure out if obviously if there's activity there, but it's also like I want to find the information what like happened in that, like if there was a tragedy or why this person is like this or why this spirit is like this. It's not just, oh, there's a ghost or there's something, there's a sound. It's like I want to know like what happened at the end of the investigation. I want to get some answers out of it. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And I'm into it for the activity too, folks. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to set Tommy up for any kind of thing here because everybody knows I don't do that on the show. But I'm trying to find some common ground, and I could tell you guys were on the right track, and then getting some answers. Again, not knowing everything about the case, but just overhearing you guys talk to the historical society folks that were there. We got some stuff that was pretty. I mean, straight up indicators. Now, what I've told people in the past is, because they've asked me, it's like, well, how do you know for sure that's the person, and you're not talking to somebody else, and they're just telling you what you want to hear. And I think because some of our questions were put forth in such a way, those of you who can go out and see these videos that were produced, you'll see we kept them in an area where we weren't trying to lead. I mean, we did a couple times, with names and whatnot, which you have to sometimes. But then, when we asked what's your last name or who was it, that may have shot you, killed you, what have you, wherever we're at, and you are getting names that match. We had not, we may have mentioned those names throughout the night, but I don't know. It's hard to explain to even people listening that once you've been doing this a while, I can tell when we have a trickster, which I know I've encountered, and I know it's people who aren't even connected to whoever's we're trying to speak to. And you can tell because they start swearing at us. They start, playing other games, saying other names, doing different things that, the indicators are there. And I didn't see any of those that night. Again, I had to learn that over time. But back to what I was trying to pinpoint was, you have a good person in Drew. Mark too, doing the research. Drew is passionate about history, telling somebody's story. And I think if you continue on that line, this is definitely going to get even more enriching for you. I really believe that spiritually and personally too. And I know that for a fact because it has for me. It has. It opens a lot of doors on the inside. The other thing is providing a voice for the dead. As you can tell, Tommy, you've been to places. People are there. They're wanting to speak. They want to communicate. I think the overall feeling, and you can tell me what you think on this. The overall feeling I get a lot of the times is they just don't want to be forgotten. I think if there's any consciousness left in anybody, that they can still think and they know kind of what's going on. They're on the other side. They don't want to be forgotten.
No, I agree with that. And it's like sometimes it's just they don't have enough energy, it seems, which if anyone's not into paranormal stuff, I don't think they would understand that. But, you have to have a certain amount of energy to be able to communicate. Spirits do. And sometimes it's like they can't, or they only say a little bit, but then sometimes you'll get like a lot, and it's like, wow. So it just really depends on the situation. But yeah, no, I know exactly what you're saying.
And see, this is what I like about you, young man. You're keying right in on things that are absolutely accurate, as far as I'm concerned. It is. We don't know how easy or tough it is from the other side to manifest any kind of energy, as you said, to communicate, show themselves, move around. There's a lot of things that we operate in the paranormal as theory. That's what most of what we're doing is theory. 99% of what we're operating on is good theory. It's good scientific theory. I think that more than one way or another, and I'm going to go out on a branch here, people listening to the program here, is that I remember I've had discussions with other folks. I think we might have had a talk a little bit about that night too. And since then too, that, how much proof do all of us out here doing this work have to provide to the common person or even the pseudo skeptic? Being a healthy skeptic is one thing, because I am still too, even though I'm a believer. There's a lot of stories and a lot of things that you still need to walk into this going, well, I don't know, man. I need to catch some things, see some things, do some things before I'm willing to just, go with the story, jump into the whole, scenario. And like I said, I see that happening and operating, and I find it to be a good thing. And speak of the crazy old man, guess who's ready to join us?
It's Drew. It's got to be Drew.
Yeah, then there's this Drew guy. Oh, wait, he's in the room. I guess we should stop talking about him. Everybody, welcome Drew McRae from Living History and also the Midwest Parahistorical Society. I know that he was doing a live stream and, again, being patient with me. But Drew, welcome aboard.
Howdy.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Just talking to Tommy about him being a young man getting involved in this and only spending less than a year himself at this. And I'm liking what I see. I told him my opinion probably don't mean a hill of beans to him and other people involved. But I told him, and I'll reiterate this, Tom. So hang on, I gotta back up a little bit. So I was telling Tommy that, basically coming home, talking to my wife about that experience that night, meeting all of you. And she got tired of me at one point saying, man, he's a really nice guy. Really nice guy. They're really nice guy. Tommy's a really nice guy. Drew's a really nice guy. Mark's a really nice guy. Joe's a really nice guy. She's like, how many times are you going to say that tonight? And she knows that it's been tough for me to find other people out here operating within paranormal, realm, the field, that I can say that about with certain individuals, because we won't focus on that in the show tonight. But, it's a thing. And everybody had their head about them. Everybody was doing what I've prided myself on doing for 15 years in this, and what I've worked with some other groups doing. And I told Tommy he's right on target. You are definitely on target. You already had a jump on the rest because you do this Living History channel, and you also are passionate about history like myself and others involved in this. And so it was a natural. It was a given. But I told him, you guys did some things that I was watching as the honored guest and the observer. And I didn't, as I told Tommy, I didn't want to overstep my bounds and shoot my mouth off too much, which I know I did, because I told him I had about 20,000 cups of coffee before I got to you and before we got there. And I have so much I want to share. But you guys did a lot of good things. And that was what I loved coming home to tell my wife. And my wife's been alongside me with this from day one, and she knows my frustration sometimes when I've met folks and I've worked with them and I see them doing some things, and then I'm like, well, how am I going to be this new guy coming into this friendship, or, you know what I mean, in a group, and saying, hey, can I talk? Can we sit down? Can I pass on some advice? Or Can I give you some pointers? I didn't want to do that, but now I'll shut up because I've got long-winded, because Drew and I both love to go all the way around the block to get to a point in the story.
I did want to chime in on what you were saying. Before
you and I will go 3 and 4 blocks out of the way to get into the story.
We will. Go ahead, Tommy.
I before Drew came on, I was going to chime in about. I was going to say, you can go to like the same location, right, like 5 times, and you're going to get different answers and different responses and see different things than you would every other night. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be, you can go to like the most haunted place, and you could go there 5 nights out of the week, and each night is going to be something completely different. And as well as we were saying about someone being like a skeptic and stuff like that, I'm sure you're aware of the Ada Witch, Finley Cemetery, right?
Oh yeah. We'll have to sit. We'll have to sit together as friends, and we'll have to talk about that, because I know some people who are a group that's involved, and I don't have nice things. But go ahead.
But no, I was just gonna say, because you were talking about people being skeptics and how people make up stories and stuff.
Right.
And I was just gonna say, I'm not gonna say a whole lot about it because I can go dive right into it. But I did investigation there, and you know the storyline and stuff about the Ada Witch and stuff.
Oh yeah. And
I just want to say, like, I went there, and that place definitely has a lot of activity. But the answers that I got pointed directly that she was not a witch. It's complete BS. That's all I had to say. So I was just kind of saying or chiming in about the stuff right before Drew came in.
That's another reason why I think a lot of us, me being new to you guys' circle, that we're going to get along very famously. I'm not out there to go and burst people's bubbles or to start fights and fires. I've been through all that in this field, folks. Trust me. You get involved in the paranormal, and you probably wouldn't be shocked that most anything you start, I don't even care if it's a knitting club, you're going to have dissension. You're going to have circles and people doing their own thing, you know what I mean? And you're going to have the haters and the naysayers and the fakers and the phonies. And unfortunately, the paranormal's full of it, and people just ride on some of these urban legends. Now, I've had a lot of fun going after a few of these, and I've been to the locations, and I've done some things that, just to see. I was curious, and I ain't out here to naysay it. Well, all I will say about Ada is, and a group, 2 people who have put a headstone there, and other things. Probably not the best people that I would follow as far as information on that. So I'm with you on that. There's never been any truth to that story. Same with the Michigan Bell building up in Grand Rapids and a whole slew of other things. Because once you really start outside of Google, once you really start researching this stuff, and folks who are listening to the program, I know we might have people watch it here at some point too. I got this weird thing for you. Now listen to me closely. You can go to this building. Sometimes they're square, sometimes they're tall, and you go in and you have to give some information, and they give you a little card, and then you get to go through this building. It's like a little card, has your stuff on it, and there's books. There's books in this building, and you can go in there and you can check them out, and you can do research. They have landline, believe it or not, they got landline maps. They have land plat maps. They have all sorts of stuff that you can do research and do history on, even including some of these stories and these legends. Now, have fun. Go out and investigate them. Don't get me wrong here. I don't want to stir anybody and turn anybody off to paranormal investigating, but I'm with Tommy on this. It's just like they're fun to kind of look into, but then you go there and you're just like, what in the world? The glowing headstone, folks, in Three Rivers. I got bad news. Or Schoolcraft, rather, not Three Rivers. Got bad news. I told Drew already, we went there to put that to rest, even though I had a weird run-in with sheep. I know that sounds weird on the program, right? Everybody's like, sheep? Where's this going? That's a whole nother story. Lichen. There's a lot of moss and lichen that was on this headstone, and when you lit it up with your headlights, and for a few minutes afterwards, it's phosphorus, and it glows. So at a distance, people were thinking, there's a headstone in there, it's glowing, and ghostly stuff. But we did get evidence out of that cemetery, guys. We did. So I know what you're saying. Man. But back to you guys. I want to say it on the air, and I'll continue to say it. Loved what you guys did. You guys do a lot of stuff for your content, and I like the way you put that together as well. And I'm just appreciative that I was there to be part of some of the fact finding. Seriously, I think some of it was fact finding. Some of the answers that you guys got through the ghost box or otherwise were just amazing.
Well, and it was a pleasure, not only meeting you as a fellow investigator, but also meeting you as another like-minded person who is you and I share a lot of the same interests, whether it's the paranormal or it's Ghostbusters or whatever the case may be. We have a lot in common. I mean, there's just a few years between us. We both grew up during the same era, and it's really hard. Yeah, it's really hard to find those like-minded people that you can meet but already know them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel like you and I hit it off. Tommy just amazes me. Okay, Tommy is less than half our age. I'm 53 years old. Danny, you're a little older than I am. Tommy's 25 years old. And
26, but close.
Oh, okay. Well,
he got my age.
I'm sorry.
You might as well start saying 25. You can get away with it. You don't even look that. So
you can get away with it. You can get away with 23. I mean, we could find you younger women. But Tommy just amazes me. When I bumped into Tommy, he was going out doing these investigations. He was cracking a lot of jokes. He was having a lot of fun on the investigation. And just since I met him and he started coming out with me, I have seen this serious side of Tommy pop out. And he really he dives into these investigations, and he does everything he can to gather whatever evidence that he can find. Even his videos have increased in quality and quantity, and it amazes me that though he won't admit it, don't think for a second he will admit this, but his videos have really started being more like mine, and I'm just waiting until he completely changes Tommy. His style of. Hey, watch it. You forget, I've crossed over. I have friends on the other side.
I'm going to get out. I'm going to get coal in my stocking. I better watch it. No, that's a good compliment. Yeah, I like I said, I've noticed some things too, and I go back and look at some of his earlier work, and it's funny how he's been to a lot of places I've done, my group's done, and we've been at. You mentioned Munchkin Land right at the top of the program, and I have some really interesting photos from there. I had some major shadow movement in the back of the cemetery. I tried to research the story because I've talked to not only people living near the place, I've talked to some people who actually, control the property. And of course, some of the stories surrounding it. Again, like you guys alluded to earlier, there might have been abuse and things that were tagged to these stories. There's just no way to really register 100%, but makes for a great story. But there is something going on in that cemetery. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of my headshots.
When we went out and done it.
What's that? Oh, yeah. When you guys went and did it? Yeah.
When Mark and I went out and done it last winter, we had a lot of very powerful EMF spikes and things. Not really very much vocal communication, not very much action. But the number one, the cemetery, though has no open and close hours, the organization, the county organization that runs it, don't want anybody in there after dark. And if you go into the cemetery, you understand that because of all the stones that have been damaged and things. I hear that train coming. a common roundabout.
That's probably mine.
But okay, well, you'll hear mine probably here real soon too. It's only a block down the road, but they have cameras set up all around the church. Now, my wife's cousin is friends with the daughter of the people that own the church. And she's actually trying to get in contact with her about getting us in the church. Now, the legend of the church there at Munchkin Land, supposedly back in the early 20th century, the minister of the church was a little, let's just say he had a couple screws loose. And according to legend, he murdered a couple little girls in the basement of the church and drugged them out to the edge of the cemetery on the woods line and buried them in an unmarked grave. And then was so overcome with grief, supposedly, according to legend, depending upon how you believe, God just completely ripped him a new one. And he hung himself from the rope hanging down from the bell tower. So that would be 3, quote unquote, known deaths in that chapel. So she's trying to get us in there to see what we can come up with in there, since we can't do anything on the cemetery property, but the chapel's owned by somebody else. So they can't control how late we're there and stuff.
The time
you mentioned the Bell building.
Yeah, the time we were there.
The Bell building. No,
I think we were there about 2000 and maybe 2009, 10. And I know that John, one of my guys, is the person that knew the same. I'd be interested, not to focus on it, but I'd be interested to see if it's some of the same ownership. Because like I said, we had permission to be out there. And it started raining on us. So that, that's always fun when you're out there in the middle of stuff. So.
Was the church remodeled when you did that back in 2009?
No, they didn't have cameras or nothing up.
Okay.
It was just, it was a whole different set of circumstances. But Drew's right. I was aware of all the stories too, and trying to research, that county and going to that county's historical society and looking into records is what I usually try to do is do that and then try to cross reference. So the way you guys attacked the jail in Galeen, and doing the things that you did, you're on the right track, because even they hadn't heard some of the stuff that you guys were talking about there too. So it's always good, like you said, that like Drew already knows what he's doing. He knows how to do this stuff. It's what he's into, that's why it was great that, you met him and you guys are working together. And I came across, I've been stalking him and watching him for a while, because I was really interested in his history stuff. And, him going to the limits that he did and being so passionate about it. Hey, everybody, we've come up on the 30-plus minute mark here in the show. We normally take our break. We're going to take a quick break here in the program. I want all of you to stay tuned for more right here on the Unrestricted Paranormal Show. I'm Dan Holroyd, your host from the Southern Michigan Paranormals, and, of course, unrestrictedparanormal.com. Now, when you go to our network, when you go to spell Unrestricted, you go spell Unrest, then XTRD, okay, Unrestricted. I spelled it a little different, .com. Also, give a look at our sponsors, Henderson Castle, hendersoncastle.com. Go over there, book your next stay there. If you're going to Southwest Michigan and you head towards the lake, if you will, to South Haven, Michigan, you can book your next stay at historichotelnichols.com. I also work with those folks, as well as Henderson, putting on dinners and historic ghost tours. We'd love to have you guys come out and take a look. Also, Gun Barrel Coffee. You've had the rest, drink the best. Gunbarrelcoffee.com. Great guys, run by veterans, brewed and roasted by veterans. And they have a slew of products that all the proceed, not all, but a lot of the proceed money goes to help out veterans organizations. I'm going to be back for more right after this. And those of you watching, that's our fake break time. So we're going to sit here and pretend like we took a break. I'll keep talking because I'll cut this part out. But as you see, we don't really go anywhere. Well, we're all sitting here in our house. Drew's got a special hat on. Whoa.
Yeah.
Got a little bedhead going on there.
Is it safe to take a bathroom break then?
You can do what you're going to do. We can take a break. I can continue to fill the time because I know we got 2 people watching. So if everybody who's tuning in right now and you're watching us here on the YouTube channel, we are taking our audio break that we do for our audio podcast, and we're here with Tommy Tombstone, Tommy amongst the Tombstones, and Drew Living History's Mysteries. Also the leader of a group that I've been brought into, the Midwest Parahistorical Society, which, Drew, cool thing. So I'm looking at this. So, the acronym would be MPS, which is cool because my group is SMP. Huh? A little weird, huh?
Yeah, how about that? Yeah. Just another one of those little oddities of me and you actually meeting each other and stuff.
It was meant to happen, buddy. Those of you watching too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I know some of my friends get on here and check out the video program. I want to give a big thank you to Crystal Daly for having her friend create this one-of-a-kind thermal mug for me. It's got, the Ghostbusters on there. It says Big Dog, my nickname. She's also got the Terror Dog on the other side. And then on the bottom, I don't want to spill my drink. So when I'm drinking, there's a Slimer. And then around it says, okay, who brought the dog? And it's got green and pink mood slime. And, of course, Getter, because I told the story to her about running into a paranormal shadow person in Howell, Michigan. And I kind of did that whole Ghostbuster Getter thing. I got a little too excited, moved forward, and said, my name's Dan, and kind of ruined that whole moment because she went back into a room, and we had no more contact the rest of the night. Okay, we are back here on the program. Thank you for listening to all those PSAs and that great rock and roll music that I throw in here. And let me remind you, too, that you're listening to us right now on Saturday night. I know you are because it's after 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are on Unrestricted Radio as well. Not just my network, but also Unrestricted Radio, unrestrictedradio.com, okay? Tell your friends, your neighbors, even the relatives you don't like, okay? It's a free app. Download it. You can listen anywhere in your car, any of this stuff. Unrestrictedradio.com. We play the music and bands that other stations and mainly stations in your town won't play. We have everything from grunge to rock, hard metal, all stuff, punk bands, classical. If you listen to this program, you've already heard some crazy stuff tonight. My extreme of music goes from one end of the spectrum to the other. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for being here tonight. I've got 2 guests with me. I got Tommy amongst the Tombstones, Tommy Tombstone, and also Drew Living History's Mysteries. One of those guys that when you go to the bathroom, make sure you light a match. One of those guys. I meant that because he's Scottish. Not that he poops and stinks the place up. I didn't mean it that way. Drew also is
my wife would tell a different story.
Mine probably too. He's also the leader of the Midwest Parahistorical Society, and I am a happy person to have been brought into that. As we were telling our viewing audience, not you guys couldn't hear it because I took that part out of the show. The acronym for that group is MPS, which I find really interesting because my group, Southern Michigan Paranormals, is SMP. So really weird how those kind of changed around and how him and I met. Again, I was stalking him for a while and watching his history stuff. I loved seeing this guy in his, his historical get-ups, and I was kind of digging that. Especially, we found out, too, when we met that we're Ghostbuster fans. Obviously, you see what's behind Drew there. That's one of the Sony movie posters, and I think I gave a few of them away the night we all met, so hopefully you guys all have your posters. And folks, we'll get back with the show here in a second, but October 19th, okay, if you're anywhere near Portage, Michigan, the Ghostbusters are going to be there in the lobby, Kalamazoo Ghostbusters, and also, might as well say GLGC, Great Lakes Ghostbuster Coalition will be
November 19th.
Yep, the 19th. We'll be there from 5 to 9 p.m., kind of hosting, finally the premiere. The movie's finally here. Now, my guys, I say my guys, I call them my guys, my boys, my girls, my folks. The Detroit group made the trip to New York.
His dog pack.
Saw the movie yesterday. And the reports I got back were 2 count. So I'm not going to give any spoilers. So expecting over the top, woohoo, from one guy, didn't really get that. He said there were some things, but we're going to love it. And then my other guy said, oh, he loved it, and we're going to absolutely love this movie. So that's a good thing. And I got to see a lot of different things from that as well. But let's get back to the show. So we're talking paranormal. We're talking to these 2 guys. I've already asked Tommy kind of, how he got started, what he did. You've told me the story, Drew. We got a new audience here for you on my program. How did you get started in the paranormal? I knew you did the history thing. I'm going to have you on another program, and we're going to talk solely about that and not paranormal, but paranormal stuff. How did you get interested and say, hey, man, I'm gonna kind of combine this and make this a thing?
Well, much like a lot of people who get involved in the paranormal, they've been in some way, shape, or form involved in it their whole lives. I actually grew up in a very old farmhouse that was built right around the era of the Civil War as a little one-room log cabin. And as time rolled on, sometime in the 1870s, there was the first death from starvation during winter when the place got snowed in. But as time rolled on, they slowly built the house around this cabin. And in the early 20th century, one little girl who was jilted by her fiance hung herself out in one of the outbuildings. And then in like the 50s or early 60s, another girl hung herself from the railing of the banister upstairs on the staircase. And so when we moved in there when I was 12 years old, we constantly were hearing and feeling and seeing things. And I'll be completely honest, Ghostbusters had a lot when it come to getting me involved with the paranormal. I always thought it would be cool to hunt down ghosts. And then in the late 90s, early 2000s, Ghost Adventures popped up. And much like myself, Zach Baggins started off and experienced the paranormal and decided he wanted to find the answers. And he wanted to find the evidence to prove that these things really existed. And 2 years ago, it'll be 2 years in this coming February, I had already had my channel on YouTube, Living History Comes Alive, for about a year, roughly 11 months. And my partner, Mark, and I, who is another historical reenactor like myself, we decided we were going to go out and look at historic haunted locations. And we did that in February last year, right after COVID hit. Everybody was keeping their distancing. And we come across some very, very cool historic cemeteries in the state of Michigan and northern Indiana, what we call the Michiana area. Cool. And as the last year and a half, almost 2 years has gone on, I have completely flipped the channel over from being a history / paranormal channel to being a parahistoric channel. I don't do as much just regular history anymore as I do haunted historic locations, investigations. I do videos on haunted historic locations throughout the country, other people's investigations, whatever keeps folks interested and keeps them scratching their head and going, could it be? And I mean, besides that, and I love to say this, what is the paranormal besides an echo of history? These are our forefathers. These are our great grandmothers. These are ancestors who we're communicating with, maybe not our own ancestors, but somebody's ancestors. I mean, this is our history coming back to talk to us in present day. Some of them are evil. I don't like to think that spirits in general are evil. But if you believe in heaven, you have to believe in hell. If you believe in some kind of higher power, you have to believe that there's some kind of evil higher power as well. And a lot of things we get into. I've had physical contact in 3 investigations this year. Never had physical contact before. But 3 investigations I've walked away from this year with scratches on my ribs, my chest, and my back.
Right. And that's how it was for me as well. And he's speaking the truth, folks. Everybody listen carefully, because as I got into this, I was very skeptical of the touching and, grabbing, things of that nature, because you hear so much of it, and there's so much sensationalism that's attached to all of these TV shows, movies, whatever it is. And like Drew, very young age, we have some differences, but only in how I was involved. But watching Unsolved, Mysteries was part of it in the 80s. Also before that, In Search Of, when I was a kid. And then having things happen to me when I was a little kid all my life. This has been happening to me and around me. So what he's speaking to is correct. When I got a little older and I started really going into some places rather than just, hitting a few places, and we took it serious, but we were still learning. We weren't quite knowing what we were doing in the 80s and a few other things that we did back then. Me and a friend of mine. I agree with Drew. It had to have a couple of different instances where I finally got touched, grabbed in a building, and it got my attention rather quickly, knowing that I was the only person in that room, and I physically felt it. I was in another investigation where we had a bench that was made of a lot of very heavy metal. I would almost say, it was made of iron, and then they had made a bench, and it was in a locker room at a very historical paper company here in Kalamazoo that's over almost 200 years old. Same building I was in was about 160 or 70 years old when I was in it. And this bench went across the floor when I went in there one night because I was touting. I said, hey, don't be a coward. And if you're going to move something, show me that you're here, because I see your shadow movement and I hear you. And that was the wrong thing to say. Now, it didn't harm us, but still something physically moved, and it was heavy. I mean, this bench was heavy. And the next time was being touched on top of my head. I happened to take a hat off at an investigation, and somebody was touching my bald head, and I felt it, very extremely. So those were the first 3 indicators, as Drew said, that even though I'm into this and now I'm learning as I'm going, that really struck me that, listen, I don't know about the fantastical side of this stuff where it's grabbing and throwing people around and whatnot, but certainly if it can grab my coat and almost yank my camera out of my hand, move a bench and stuff, hey, the possibilities are there that maybe some of these stories might have something to them. And pay attention, have your intent where it needs to be. Pay attention to what you're doing. Don't aggravate. I do not allow people in my group to go in there and do the Zach Bagans crap. I'm not having it. And I did say crap. I think that's the wrong way to go at this. If you're going in there, use a little tact. Be kind and courteous. You're going to get more stuff, happen to you, and more things want to communicate to you when you're using that approach rather than calling things out. I just think that's dangerous too, because again, we're not quite sure the limitations of what goes on from the other side. And I do agree with Drew as well that there's some bad mojo out there, some bad shit out there, and you just got to be careful. Excuse my French. Tommy, have you encountered anything like that yet? Have you been touched yet or had anything really weird?
Yeah, it's funny because
he could only hope so.
Yeah, right.
I wish. How me and Drew met kind of basically was I got my information from Silverbrook Cemetery in Niles from Drew's video. That's how I found out about him, and then he reached out to me. But that was the very first time I got touched. I was at Anna Eisner's tomb, and I was touched, and I've never felt that before until that moment, and it blew me away. And that whole investigation there blew me away. I mean, that's such a large cemetery. There's so much history there, and I mean, Drew can testify for that.
18,000 graves.
Yeah, it's Danny. I don't know if you ever been there, but that's definitely a place to check out.
Yeah, Drew and I talked about that. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
And then like I've been touched. I don't know how many times. That was the first time, but maybe like 2 or 3 times. And then as far as the bad mojo stuff, I don't recommend this to anyone, but 2 videos ago that I did on my channel, I did a seance, if you want to say, at Prospect Hill Cemetery. But before that, we had, like the EMF detector falling off the headstone on its own, which blew me away. It could have been the wind, but the way it fell and everything, and what I was saying when it happened, I mean, it blew me away. But I had a lot of dark things come out of that seance. It was like a seance Estes method. I don't know if you've seen that one, Danny or Drew, but at the end there, I mean, it got really, really dark with the responses. So I've seen the dark things happen. That was probably one of the most dark occurrence that's happened out of any of the investigations that I've done. But of course, I kind of egged it on with doing such a thing, so that's on me.
Well, and that's what we alluded to earlier.
I feel like
we were talking about intent. You got to be careful with your intent too. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah.
I just feel like, and this is probably one of the big ways that Danny and I differ. And if I go to a location and I know that there has been previous activity there, but nothing is responsive, I will do the Zach Baggins thing. I have done the Zach Baggins thing. Why are you being a coward? Why aren't you responding to us? Why don't you? Are you afraid to be seen? Or are you that big of a coward? You have passed over. You have moved on to a plane of life. You have accomplished something we can't, but you're afraid to make yourself known. Stop being a coward. And I've got responses back. And it's almost like you challenge them to respond. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm not going to back down. And they start to respond to you. Now, granted, at none of those investigations have I ever been attacked. I've never had a physical contact at any of those investigations.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I'm not here to debate that. I just don't allow it in my group because I'm just not sure what's going to happen at the end of that rope. Now, if it works for you and you got things going on, I ain't gonna dish you on that, brother. Like I said, we all got our different ways of doing this stuff, and if I'm there as a guest and you're doing that, I'm not gonna say a word, and rest assured, all is cool in Ghostbuster land. But as I said,
I don't count you as a guest anymore.
Well,
you're part of the team now. I don't count you as a guest.
Well, I appreciate it. That's true. But I appreciate it. But what you said there is not exactly what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, you want to go to a place where here's a man who was electrocuted. You're at his gravesite. You're out there to talk to him and you want to berate him. Let's say he's still hanging out and you want him to communicate with you, whether he be damned or not. That's the issue I've had because we've gone into private investigations and I got my team where there's, There's one called the Kalamazoo House. Now, we knew that there was a suicide in there. And the one thing I didn't want these film students doing is just what you said. I didn't want them calling this person out because he didn't want to communicate. I mean, this person killed himself. I don't know his history. I don't know what's going on there. So a lot for me, it's just a courtesy thing. I'm not debating you on it. I'm just saying, there's certain lines that I will go to because I've said what you've said. I still do. I'll ask a lot of emotional. I turn the questions around now, I think, where I turn it into more of an emotional response type thing too. And I've still used the coward word. I have to admit out here on the show, I've done it. But a lot of the times I'm like, listen, you don't have to be afraid of me. I'm not here to do anything. Just show yourself. You're showing yourself to other people and scaring the living hell out of them. Well, then see, I've done what you've done. Then come forward and scare the hell out of me. Or if you're in this closet and you're screaming at this guy, a personal house I worked, and you're grabbing him and yanking on his bed at night, I'm right here. I'm right here. Now, I don't want my team doing that. I'll do it. I'll take it on myself because I figured spiritually, hopefully I'm strong enough that, and being as big as I am, good luck trying to pick me up and throw me around. But if it happens, I'll be the first to tell all of you out here on the show when you see me in my body cast and, all bandaged up that didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. And I'm just saying I err on the caution of a lot of things because I just operate with more respect. But if it works for Drew and he gets responses, then keep doing it. Keep doing it. Whatever works to get these people to talk to us. And I do say people, folks, you heard me. Whatever they were in life, I think some of them are still the same thing on the other side. And that includes a-holes. Drew and I have talked about that shortly, and I'll get you guys' perspective on this because I've worked a couple of cases where through research and talking to people there and whatnot, that we know that this person was an a-hole when they were alive. They don't want anybody having the house. They're being an a-hole right now. They're talking to us on either with the ghost box or without the ghost box. I've gotten EVPs on both ends. They're nasty, they're crappy, and threat of moving them on to a place maybe they don't want to be. We've had to try to deal with that in a certain way, and so I get asked a lot at lectures. Are bad people still hanging out? And as Drew said, he's encountered that too. Yeah, and I call it evil. I mean, if somebody's just nasty and done things and are, you know what I mean? This gentleman shot his brother over property. So how much more mean do you need to be? Shoot your own brother over property, and then the whole town did a write-up on you and hated the guy in their historical book that they did. So what's your perspective on that? Have you run across that yet, Tommy?
Nothing to that extreme, but I've definitely gotten responses where it's like they don't want me there.
Right.
They don't want to talk to me, like get out, leave, but nothing like where it's like swearing or something like that. So I haven't really dealt with that too much.
Now we had a little bit at the jail. I do remember hearing some things at the jail. Yeah.
That's what I was just grinning about was the jail.
Right. And I know you've had those incidents, Tom. Or Drew, I know.
For those of you who didn't see that video, I have to cut in here. For those of you that didn't see that video on my channel or on Tommy's channel on YouTube, we were doing an Estes session, which you have to understand. First, an Estes session, you put on a sound canceling headphones. You're plugged into the voice box, and somebody else is asking questions. You can't hear the questions, but you're just saying what comes over the voice box. And one of the people locked up in this jail that was accused of a murder was a young woman, married, having an affair with somebody. A man wound up being murdered, and the people having the affair were accused of doing it. And Danny was asking the questions, Tommy was responding to the questions, and I was filming. And she started with this, get out, leave, go. And then she realized the cell door was open. I was standing in the cell door filming, and she's with this, go, stop, leave. So I'm like, okay, all right. So I backed the camera up and slammed the cell door. I said, now you're stuck in there with him and have to talk to him. And it's like all of a sudden start responding again. And it's like, okay. Sometimes using a little bit of force. Now, I don't know if Danny's gone into any details about what we have coming up tomorrow night. And I won't go into a lot of detail about it either. But we are, our little team here, Danny, Tommy, myself, and my researcher, Mark, are going to meet a local business owner here in Cass County, Michigan, tomorrow. They've owned an old historic building for 26 years. They've always had things happening, but here of late, these things have gotten worse. And somebody made the statement to me you can't find any history on these buildings. I don't know nothing about the downtown district prior to 26 years ago when these people bought this property. What was there before?
What's the county that's in, Drew?
It's Cass.
County? Cass County. Yep.
Cass County. But we know if it's always been a saloon. We don't know if somebody was killed there. We don't know if somebody committed suicide there. The place used to be all Potawatomi Indian land. What happened to them when it come to the founding of this town or this location or this ground in specific? It could be anything. The basement section of this building is full of old materials and stuff from previous owners that they never came back and got. What kind of possible artifacts are in those multiple boxes and stuff that may have a spirit stuck to them that don't like the changes that's been made to that place?
I did get an email back from the museum actually tonight. I just want to point that out. I got a little bit of information. As far as anyone dying there, they have no idea. But it's apparently it was originally built in 1913 as the Elks Temple. I don't know if you knew that.
At the what?
The Elks Temple.
Oh yeah.
And he said the property
was Lodge.
The property was never residential, but it said unless they had apartments upstairs after the Elks left. He didn't say a whole lot, but he gave a little bit of information about the building itself. I can send it to you guys later, but
okay,
they did respond to me.
Yes,
though.
Please do.
Well, I'd heard after the Elks left that the deer moved in, and they left, and the antelope weren't there that long because they just hopped in and out. Anybody?
Yeah.
There's your bad joke for the show tonight, folks. Wow. That sounded like you were cutting up a body and something there, whatever that noise was. Yeah.
I gotta get a silencer on my chainsaw.
I will get with you guys for sure on that tomorrow. I know we're on the air right now, and I might, like I said, I had some things going on tonight. Grandkids, so that might be a thing tomorrow too. But let me know what the exact time is. You're thinking that you guys wanted to go down there.
7:30, I think it was, right?
We're supposed to meet them at 7:30.
Okay.
I was thinking show up about a quarter after or so.
Okay. So on the segue to my next question. So what do you think you've learned so far, just in the short time you guys been doing this, and whoever wants to answer that? And what do you think that you've learned that you thought you knew, but you learned something else? You know what I mean? Trying to figure out how I formulate this question. Usually I'm not this terrible an interviewer. What is it?
I'm going to let him go first.
Yeah. What do you feel?
Why me?
Yeah. Well, let me ask it this way. So you thought you knew certain things, but you've learned something else. And what is it that you think you could put your hand on that you think that you've learned that you didn't think you knew?
Well, definitely from the experiences, that's for sure. I've learned a lot from the different things I've experienced doing these investigations, using different gear, the techniques. I mean, I've learned quite a few from Drew, from what he does and how he presents himself through the investigations. It's made me mature a little bit more about it. From, before, like Drew said, before I was trying to make my videos a little bit funny, kind of like, I took my investigations seriously the entire time, but I try to add in like comedy aspects, like throwing in like movie clips and stuff like that, or sound effects and stuff like that. But the more I got into it, the more I was like, I kind of toned that down and got more serious with it, with the history. So yeah, go back to the question. Just ask it one more time.
What is it that you think that you've learned that's new for you? Let me put it that way. Anything new since you've been working with Drew that it's kind of made you sit back and go, wow, that's new for me. I guess I thought something was this way, but it really isn't. And that's fascinating, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would definitely say the techniques, how I present my investigation, how I determine, about a place, like what happened there and stuff, like the research. Definitely from Drew, definitely the research. I can't say that enough. The history and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's a mix of different things, but I have to say like research techniques, history about places, and the experiences. Like it changed me throughout it. Like I said, when if you look at my videos, my older videos, not only was the editing not as good, the editing, but like as you see as it progresses, the editing got better.
Okay.
The techniques.
Right. Yeah. Your production.
Yeah, the
value.
production.
Yeah.
And then showing the history and just being more mature, I guess, about
Certainly.
doing it. I guess
Certainly.
if that answers the question.
It does. It does. I mean, that's an important part, and you're going to learn, like some of the other stuff as you go, as you're already seeing, being with Drew, and hopefully, like I said, I'm not going to like toot my horn here, but I'm hoping to put some things into the mix too for you guys.
Please toot.
Well, I mean, I'm not all the time you want. I'll make sure it smells like rose water. But to put stuff in there and to show you some new things that I think what might fascinate you guys as well. But you guys are already doing, like I said, you guys are already doing the things that you should do to just start investigating. I always caution a lot of younger people or people getting into this, even if they've been doing it a year or two, and I've been doing it longer. Again, I may not have all the answers, but I try to tell them too. It's like stick to old school. If anything's starting out at first, old school. And what I mean by that, and people listening, people watching, is that you can get started in this by getting yourself a good digital recorder. They're affordable. You don't have to have digital, because I still have a mini cassette recorder, and you can still get tapes, and I still use that on certain occasions. We also have a VHS unit, and a camera that works with it. And I will explain why that's old school and why it's still something good to hang on to. It's because when you have an interruption or paranormal interference, folks, on digital recorders, digital cameras, that's a digital signal that's bouncing constantly when it's operating. Think of it like this, like it's tapping. And the minute you get any kind of electrostatic interference or EMF interference that we think might be a spirit, this is what it does. It stops. It instantly stops, because in the digital world, it's interrupted, so there's nothing making contact with anything else to continue recording. Now, VHS and also cassette recorders, unless the power is drained and the recorder stops itself, if you get static interference, there's times I picked up voices on cassette recorders when we've had static interference, which we think is something otherworldly. Okay, I'm not telling you straight out it's a ghost, but it shouldn't have happened.
Aliens.
And in between that, the magnetic heads on the inside, folks, are still running and making a recording on that tape. If it has not stopped that recorder, it's still recording. So I've listened in there, and that white noise, the same thing we're doing with a little bit of what we're doing with our ghost box. I've gotten stuff. The same thing can be said for VHS, folks, that we've had static interference, and thank goodness I was using a VHS unit at a private investigation, and when things happened, something was interfering with my signal, and I started getting strange static on the camera. Same at Henderson Castle. I had one, running on our VHS player, stationary, looking at the stairs, and instead of the static going horizontal like it's supposed to in any of your devices that are, cameras or television wise, it was vertical. That shouldn't happen. And it was doing weird stuff, and we could hear whispers, and then it lasted about 30 seconds or so, and then just stopped. Weird. So old school. Old school also meaning notepad. Okay. Now, when I operated in the world of, let's say, things that run the opposite side of crime, we'll just put it that, because I'm going to run out here and tell everybody I did all these crazy things. But we were taught that when we were doing any kind of an investigation or interview, anything happening, write it down immediately. Nothing this big, but they make little notepads. I still carry them. I have one in my K. So when I've had something major happen, I go in there right away. I turn on my flashlight. I start writing, because you may think you're not going to forget certain little aspects of things that just happened. but you will. And then you'll be pissed off later that you may have left something out that was important to the case or whatever it is you're investigating. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So old school guys, get a digital recorder, get yourself a digital camera. They have new cameras that are affordable. Those things are fantastic. If you do not have a high enough memory on it, make sure you go out and get yourself a bigger, little flash that goes in there, SIM card, gigabytes. Always have this. Always have a flashlight so you can see in the dark. I am the worst offender. I am the absolute worst offender. Even though I train people in my group, I inevitably forget my flashlight sometimes. Used to be I had to have a flashlight intervention. You do too. You got two, yeah. And Drew caught that too because I stopped and bought one at the gas station before we went to the jail because I'm searching everywhere high and low and I can't find my flashlight. Now here it is. Now I found it. It was here when it should have been in my case. So that's how you should get started out and go at it slow. Watch Drew's stuff. Watch Tommy's stuff. Watch some of my stuff. There's some good people out here who are going to give you, good hints and good information as to how you should be, conducting yourself, going out here and doing this work. And if you're in it just for the chase and you just want to see if you can find activity, I don't diss on that. I don't diss on it at all, folks. I just want you guys to be respectful and those of you out here listening to just be respectful when you're in the cemeteries. Try to be respectful of the dead. Don't bring things down on yourself. I want to do another show with these guys where we're going to talk about a whole slew, like a round table, a whole slew. We'll get the other guys involved too. A whole slew of things that I think maybe we should all share opinions on and cover. Because again, just because I say something, I could be just as full of poop as, the next guy. I'm just going by some experiences, folks. I'm just sharing experience that I've had in this. And I think these two guys have something really good going. And I am pleased as pigs in poop to have met him and be.
There's a lot of poop going on in this tonight.
And a lot of poop being mentioned. The thing of it is, and I mean this as a compliment, guys, okay, I do, that it feels right. And I see a lot of opportunity for all of us involved. You guys are, really focused on your content and as in accordance to what you're doing. I'm going to get on board a little bit of that too. Drew's like, are you going to do a video? How come you're not doing a video? And I didn't give him the big, long story as to why I've kind of dropped off doing the content thing. One of the bigger reasons is this show tonight. I'm running a network and I've got a slew of podcast stuff that I'm working on constantly. But I got my thing out of storage. I used it actually at the Comic-Con, which, can go around and film some stuff, film some locations, and maybe put a little bit of content up there as well. But I like what I see. I absolutely love what I see. You guys all have great personalities. I was trying to feel all of you guys out when I first met you, and just a good group of guys. Just you guys are on the right track of just chasing some stuff down, and I hope to bring you into some things that I have access to, which I've promised, and I will keep my promise. That I'm working on some new things for you guys too, and some other small towns and in our south.
I hope so.
Oh yeah.
I personally last year, Mark and I had to quit doing our investigations in, middle November. We didn't get started back up till late March, early April because you can't hunt through historic cemeteries in 3 feet of snow. And exactly. I know that Danny has been around long enough that he has got the contacts to find us inside investigations through the winter, places we can go, places I would love to go. Now, Henderson Castle, Kalamazoo, even though I have heard mixed results from that place, I would still love to go there.
Yeah, it's a tough
Allegan,
one.
Michigan.
Yeah.
I
heard.
Allegan, Michigan.
Yeah, you guys. So, I heard talk about that tonight too, Drew. That on your on our feed, because I had a friend, Kathy Condor, who's already done a lot of that stuff up there, but I got people I know up there too. So, like I said, once I get some other things settled here, and this whole Ghostbuster thing calms down in a week. Yeah, I'll work with you guys on that.
Ghostbusters will never calm down. What are you talking about,
Well, at
man?
least the movie review is driving me nuts. I'm such a fan. But so now before we go, I want you to each take a turn telling everybody where they can find your content and where they can locate you. You go first, Tom.
Yeah, like I said, I'm Tommy Tombstone. My YouTube channel is called Tommy Amongst, not amongst. A lot of people give me shit for that, but Tommy Amongst the Tombstones on YouTube. Check it out. You can also follow me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram, Tommy_Tombstone. That's really about it. I have a TikTok too. I just started that. I think Drew did as well. It's Tommy.Tombstone because he didn't let me do underscore. And yeah, that's about it. So like I said, Tommy Amongst the Tombstones, Instagram, Tommy_Tombstone, and then TikTok, Tommy.Tombstone. If you're interested in collabing or hitting me up, you can hit me up on any of those social media sites, whatever you want to call them. Go ahead.
And I'll tell all you guys, and I'll do this thing like my friend Casper Sight does. Go to his page, do the thing, okay? Subscribe and do the thing. Help a guy out. All right.
Oh yeah, I'm at 90. Okay, I don't have that. This doesn't sound like a lot, but I have 91 subscribers right now. I'm trying to hit 100, so I'm only like 9 subscribers away from hitting 100 subsabscribers on YouTube. So if you can help a boy out, you know what I'm saying.
I will go create different personalities and get you up to 100 in a matter of minutes. I'm kidding. I can't.
There you go.
Help them out. Go ahead, Drew.
Well, you can find all of our content on YouTube. Living Histories Mysteries. We have a playlist on there called Living History Comes Alive, which is all of our straight history, and then Living Histories Mysteries is all of our paranormal stuff, our investigation paranormal videos on other haunted locations throughout the country. Of course, I'm also on Instagram under Living History Comes Alive. And like Tommy mentioned, I just started a TikTok to send out previews and notifications to the humongous TikTok community that's into the paranormal. And under TikTok, I'm also under Living History Comes Alive. Of course, I'm also on Facebook. You can find me on there under Midwest Parahistoric Society. All of my videos that I post, the link is posted to that little page on there. We are trying to grow. We are at almost 5,000 subscribers, and most of those hit us when we switched over to Parahistoric Investigating. There are a lot of history lovers out there. There are a lot of paranormal lovers out there, but when you find a way to smash those two things together, that's when people start coming out of the woodwork and going, hey, he's right. What is the paranormal besides just an echo of history? So that's where you can find us at Living Histories Mysteries on YouTube.
All right. You heard it there, folks. These guys are going to make sure that they give me links tomorrow, not tonight, because I'm going to go upstairs and have dinner. Spend time with Mama Cat. Make sure you, even though I have all your stuff, resend all your links to me if you guys would. And I will make sure, because I'm going to try to spend some time early in the morning on the network to get all your stuff as promised linked over on my network, which is the unrestrictedparanormal.com network. I own and run that, control my own content. You're going to find Drew's stuff there. You're going to find Tommy's stuff there with active links, so that when you're on their page, it'll say click here. You'll see a handsome picture of Drew there or Tommy, and you click on that and it takes you right over to their stuff. I'll have different links up there for them. They will have their own page. So your audience people can come to me, mine will come to you. We'll all come together and it'll be one big sticky mess. Wait, what? That's
exactly what it should be.
Right. This isn't a kid-friendly program, so I can get away with those jokes. So I appreciate you guys taking your time out to be with me. I know it was, like I said, a little hectic tonight. Normally I don't have these things going on, but we got some grandkid things happening, so I'm kind of running back and forth doing some stuff. But hey, everybody, you've been listening to our program here, Unrestricted Paranormal Show, on the one and only Unrestricted Paranormal .com network, unrestrictedparanormal.com network, as well as Facebook. You're going to hear this program. Red Circle. I don't talk about it enough. I probably should, folks. If you go to Red Circle Podcast, you will find a page there called Unrestricted Paranormal. Any podcast I have produced, with whatever name, old stuff, whatever, it's there. It's there also. We're also getting ready to be hooked up with iTunes and iHeart and TuneIn Radio and about 600 other places. So if you're telling us you can't find us, you're full of, here it goes, more poop, Drew. You're full of poop, okay? You're full of poop, because we're going to be out there everywhere, and I'm going to try to help these guys as well, market and do some things in the background too, whatever little bit I can do. So thank you for being here. Don't forget Henderson Castle.
And don't forget too, guys.
Go ahead.
Don't forget too, if you want to see Danny at these investigations, since Danny don't put up his own investigation videos, you can see Danny on ours, on Living History's Mysteries, and see just how good he really is, because I'm blown away by this guy, and I am just ecstatic that he's part of our team now, and I'm ecstatic that he's my friend. Tommy, he's just Tommy.
Wow, Drew.
I get the shit for this.
Yeah, I hope the check clears.
Love
buddy. I hope the check clears. I appreciate that. Very kind words. I think that of both of you. I think that all of you that I met that night. I think there's a huge potential here. We will help one another. And as I said, everybody, sponsors, HendersonCastle.com. HistoricHotelNichols.com. I'm looking to do an investigation off season. These guys will be with me, including a couple of my team members. So we're going to really be able to get in there and do the things we want to do finally at Hotel Nichols. Partially to my wife being, the assistant general manager. But that's here nor there, folks. When we did
Kat.
Yeah, when we did that a few years ago, we just way too many people, and we weren't given unvetted access, but we will have that this time. Plus, I've done some research, and I got some great stuff on that building. Also, go to Gun Barrel Coffee. I got to get these guys drinking it. Now, I just had a new coffee, but go to Gun Barrel, get their coffee. Okay, it's good stuff, folks. GunBarrelCoffee.com. I had one that a friend sent me tonight. It's Proton Pack coffee. Kid you not. It is, it's a coffee from Buffalo, New York, of all places, and it's pretty interesting. I'm going to talk to these folks. I'm also going to be having probably 6,000 coffee supporters on here and sponsors, guys. So everybody listening to the program, I would imagine soon we're going to have Rescue Coffee right out of here in Kalamazoo. She's been wanting to be part of this and help us do the thing that we're doing on the network. These guys are going to now, as of tonight, they are officially part of the unrestrictedparanormal.com network. Their content is on there as well. And I'm going to look forward to asking their help and doing some productivity and some different things, because we really want to launch, even though you're seeing us now on YouTube. I really want to launch a way that we are going to convert a lot of what we do as far as podcast shows and whatnot, including taking commercial breaks and sliding in videos and sliding in audio. I have access to all of that. I'm going to sit down with these gentlemen, and we're going to figure this out on this network, and we're going to really make this thing pop. So, we'll do their stuff, our stuff, all of our stuff, maybe even do a thing where we have one particular show all together outside of our individual shows and just really share with you. But I appreciate you being here as always. I'm going to leave you with these words that I do on my Big Dog show, as well as my I Want to Believe show, that if you cannot be kinder and smarter, please be quieter. Okay? Just do me that favor. Just be quieter. And like that, I will hit end broadcast.